During my time, when I was growing up, that was one of the things that was very hard for us to do, was to be taught our language, our traditions, our culture in the school, and we were even told not to speak our language. But in the past few years, there has been that turnaround where a lot of the young kids are learning that, and and it's really interesting because teaching a language class here in Hill River, uh, I had an elder, a grandmother that came in and wanted to learn the language because her granddaughter was learning it in school and she wanted to be able to communicate with her. And so I think today, for our young people that's willing to learn and it's being taught in the schools, I would think that those elders that are knowledgeable of the language and the traditions and the culture, to reconnect with them and to teach them. And the best method of teaching is that immersion, just everyday talk. I had an adult ask me one time, you know, my wife and I, we both speak the language and we want to teach our kids, but how do you start to teach them? What words do you use? And so I mentioned to him, I says, well, the best way is just to talk normally. Everyday words that you use, when you're eating, food names that you use them because they'll hear it. And they'll hear it and hear it, and then in their own way they'll start pronouncing it because it'll be in the brain, and they'll start forming and they'll start using it. And if they ask you, then you tell them or pronounce the word for them. And just everyday words that we use. And one of the things that I had come up against in teaching the language is that the parts of the body. There's nothing dirty about that, nothing wrong with that. But when the non-Indian language came upon us, they were saying that these were not good. But for us, it was a normal function. And so we always use those. And so for them to use that, to learn about the body parts, even just simple words, and what's happening today is that we're talking more slang. Our language is turning more slang, and because our language is descriptive. And one of the things that's happening also is that a lot of different communities are having problems with the language in developing a language program. But what I always say is that our language is not written, and how you hear it, how you pronounce it, how you write it, it's correct.